But you know, yes I am. Yes I am. Dude, it's been great. It's been a great adventure. It's gonna continue to be an even better adventure. I mean, it's always getting better. Every day, every moment is a day for me and for you and for everybody involved. It's a day for us to shine. Oh yes, it's a day for us to shine. Shine bright. Shine bright. Shine very, 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 very bright. I was listening to this thing for a brief second today, where there's a story from this book about this guy who apparently had some sort of disease in his pancreas, if I'm remembering correctly. He had something where like his pancreas, where he couldn't eat food. If it did, like it would wall up with acid and it would almost basically kill him or something along those lines. And yet there's this thing called like we are the placebo, which I'd say I'd have to agree with that. Like, I've had too many experiences not to agree with it, which means that was pretty cool. I think I just saw like a monk sitting outside. I like it. Which means that what he was doing each time whenever he would get a moment is he would say this thing over and over again. Do J39 clause. Oh, license plates. Oh, he would say this thing, or he would just imagine himself being healthy regardless of what everybody else was saying, regardless of everything else that was going on, and he just kept his mind in the correct state. And there's a lot of people online that I've seen where they're like, but look at this dinosaur. There's a lot of people online that I've seen that have talked about these different aspects where it's just like mindset is just a word that people use that say, oh, you didn't make it because you didn't have the right mindset. And I saw some people talking about that on one of the forums that I was reading, and I was just like, me, it's kind of contradictory. It's like, yeah, you didn't have the right mindset, so you say that you didn't have the right mindset and that's why you didn't succeed. It's a matter of you have to take control of yourself, because you are the only thing that you do have complete and utter control over. Nobody has control over yourself. Nobody else can do anything for you. They can work in certain regards, but they're still doing it for their own betterment of themselves in some way, shape, or form, because that's the thing that excites them the most. So the guy, he would continually like remind himself that like, hey, I'm healthy, like this isn't gonna beat me, like I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna do all these things, I'm gonna, like, this means nothing. And he was in the hospital. I believe it said he went in at like 145 pounds. He ended up leaving the hospital at 119 pounds because all he was able to do was like have an IV for food intake. And even when he did leave the hospital, he was still having to have an IV intake or some sort of like liquid diet so that he would be able to continue surviving. And from that process of him doing that, I probably need to wear the different shoes today, but I need new shoes. From him doing that, he ended up going back home, and it's like, all right, for this last little surgery, like, can we just get like a final biopsy, like, to make sure that everything's up to date and current? Because a lot of times, like, sometimes before going into surgery, I don't know much about doctors, but like this is just my understanding of what they're talking about. Like, most of the time, like, they'll use past x-rays. They'll use past x-rays to be able to convey the point that they're wanting to convey in whatever means that may be. The cool thing about this was this video only had about like 44 views on it, but like it's something that hit me very hard, which I guess that's something that I'm having to realize myself as well too. It's just because a lot of my videos, or some of my videos, might not get like the most amount of views, doesn't mean they aren't being of value to you per se that is listening to this right now. And that's just a little thing that I noticed today. And then I get trip 2s on that license plate, which is fantastic. And he constantly ended up like saying the same thing over and over again, like to get him into the right mindset, because like our words do create a reality. We are the placebo. Like what we think becomes true. That's just how it is. At least that's from what I've been able to. I say test it first, obviously. Like, don't just take my word for it. Be like a scientist and go out and try it yourself and see if it does work. If it does, cool. Like, come back and let me know. If it doesn't, then like, I mean, find something else that works for you, because it's all just a belief system. You have to test that out as well too. So with that being said, like he ended up getting another X-ray and going back to the like getting a whole diagnostics before going back to like go out to the surgery. And from the story, they told him that he had this. He didn't have to. Well, basically, they told him it's just like it's gone. And he's like, "What do you mean it's gone?" It's like we don't see anything on these X-rays or any of the stuff that we ended up having that says that you have this said like blockage in your system anymore. He's like, what do you mean? I don't have this anymore. And he didn't have it anymore because he decided to have a different mindset. He started to think in different terms. He allowed his body to heal itself as our bodies are naturally attuned to do. A lot of the times you're told, and this is where I say that you have to have like this placebo effect. So like whenever I would get sick personally, people would be like, oh, you're sick. And I'm like, no, I'm not sick. They're like, what do you mean? And clearly you are. I'm like, no, I'm not sick. Like, it's not. Like, I have no sickness. They're like, clearly you're sick. Like, your nose is stuffy. I'm like, no, it's just allergies. Like, I'm not sick. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's just a stuffy nose. And like, so you're sick. And I'm like, no, I'm not sick. Like, I'm just clearing out my sinuses. And they're like, no, you're sick. And I'm like, no. Like, I wouldn't let somebody else's view of what sickness was overcome my own view of what it is, and I would get cleared up and healed like within that, like so much faster than anybody else that I ever would see that would get sick. So this is where I say, like, you have to have a strong belief in yourself. If you have that strong belief in yourself, if you have that strong capability, if you have that clear understanding of who you are, of what you want, of what you're going after, of the mindset, the view of the world that you want to have, all of a sudden everything else will materialize around that said perspective, and it'll start to heal in certain ways. Obviously, and maybe not obviously to you, but like obviously to me, you have to understand that sometimes it may take some time, because I didn't expect this to be the place that I'm at right now. Like, I had a general idea that like this would be the place that I'd be going, like why I read the books and meditated and journaled and want to do a lot of self-discovery and inquiry, because I figured, and this is just my own take, that the mind is the most powerful muscle that we ever have, and if we can understand how to use it in the correct way, kind of like using a computer to input the right codes, it's going to give you out the right output. If you aren't inputting the right codes into the computer, you're going to get the wrong output. Our brains are the exact same way. We input the right things to be able to get the right thing on the outside, and sometimes you can have mismatched codes or mismatched programming in that said thing, because I just found a book today, I believe it was the spiritual science, the neuroscience of spirituality or something along those lines. And there's a passage in that book where our brains have neurons and cells within our brain. And this is something later in the book that's just kind of stuck with me as well too, is like there's 100 billion neurons within our brain. That is almost more, if not the amount of the stars within the Milky Way galaxy. So that to me is like, interesting. That's kind of clever. And then I see a license plate from the college that I went to school at, which is another prime example. And you could be like, oh, those are just coincidences. I mean, regardless where you go, there's always things that are happening for you in the ways that they need to be happening in it, which is fantastic to be able to see, and why I'm such a big proponent in making sure that you speak the words to yourself that are the most powerful, that are the most eye-opening, that are the most influential, that are helping you in the ways that they need to be helping you in, because that is the only way that you're going to be moving forward. At least that's from what I've come to. If you want to do something like visually or artistically or listening to that, I was trying to think of another word, but like you can do it in any way that works best for you, and then from there you start to develop more, and you start to, even though you don't even need to develop because you're already doing it right now, you're just doing it from most likely an unconscious level like I was. Then if you're able to become aware of it and conscious of it, then all of a sudden these new doors, these new avenues, these new pathways start to open up within your brain. It's kind of like opening up a new tab on a computer, opening up a new video. Like everything's always happening all at once, and it's just a matter of like focusing. She needs to get off of her phone. It's a matter of focusing on the one thing that you need to focus on, and just using that awareness and that attention that will attract everything towards you. There's this one thing that this doesn't necessarily tie into what I was talking about with that story per se. It's still something that I just kind of wanted to touch on for a brief second, because when I went out to this event a while ago, and I was thinking about this the other day, when I went out to this event thing that I did for the sales competition that I ended up winning, which I didn't even get the full recognition from it, but that's okay, because now I've been on this whole different journey of like understanding these things that I wanted to understand a lot more of, which has been fantastic. I ran into one of the people that was working at the other parent company, or the competitor's company that I was working for at the time. And in hindsight, I could have been like, hey, can I introduce you to my VP of sales? That would have been perfect. Like, that would have been like a prime opportunity to be like, hey, this is something that like, look, I can do outside sales too. Like, can you put me in the outside? I didn't think about that at the time, because I had already made the decision that I was like, I don't want this next promo or something like that, which was my own fault, my own understanding. You could be like, no, those were life effects. But no, it was because, like I said, it was and this is how I guess it ties in. It was because those were the words that I ended up doing with like the thoughts that I had, because I was like, let me test this. Like, let's let me test this in a completely different way. And then I had to go down this different route, and I just let my body just do what it does, as I typically do, as I always do. And I just act without really a second guess or a second thought. I just go and I just do. It's been very influential and very impactful for me over the years, and it continues to be that way as well too, which is why I'm such a big proponent in making sure that your words are in line with what you do. One, because you always get what you say. You always get what you say every single time, even what you visualize as well too. That's a cool little Mercedes truck van thing conversion. It's orange. Like, look, I don't know how well it'll show up, but right there, kind of see it. It's kind of neat. I like the colors of it. I saw another dude walking and carrying a boombox with mushrooms on his shirt today, which was pretty chill. So, and I like, this is just where I say, you have to, and today I got to go on a walk. I didn't get to go on a walk the past 2 days, so I was making videos for one of the other channels that I do, and I was doing a backlog. I'm having a very big backlog, basically a month's worth of content. Every single day, doing like one long form video and then 2 shorts per day is what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna aim for 3 shorts per day. Right now it's just at 2, so we'll see where that goes and see how much growth that has over a 30-day period. And still, primary focus, like, I mean, is monetary compensation in some way, shape, or form. Applying to jobs. I'm putting this stuff out online as well too. Like to be able to build, like, the automated money printing machine is like the main focus. And there are like ads is an automated money printing machine, which I don't know why I didn't think about that. A business, a successful business, a business that's bringing in money is an automated money printing machine. I just want, dude, then that car, there's a truck right in front of me that had 3 different doors. So it had like this door, that door, and then another door behind that. I had a dream about that several weeks ago. I don't know the exact day. This is where I say, like, our words do create a reality, and if we believe enough in our health and our well-being, then we do clear things up. And I don't think I wrapped this up, but that's where I say sometimes it may take some time for things to happen, because in that story that I was telling you a little bit ago, if I'm remembering correctly, the guy took like 9 months for him to get healed, but he constantly, every day, whenever he had a brief moment, would, unfazed, would say, license plate, would say these other like words, or he would constantly remind himself that he was healthy, that he was perfect, that he was in well health, that he was able to play these games, that he was able to move, that he was free, that he was healthy. And he'd say these things over and over again until they started to become true. And this is where I say, like, our minds truly are the most powerful. I'm going around. Our minds are the most powerful instruments ever created. And they're always directing us and guiding us to the exact destination that we are wanting to go. And it's a matter of being open and receptive to going to that said destination in order to, you know, go to that said destination. I wanted to go over there, actually. It's a Friday. It's a Friday, Mr. Boy. So we might do the sauna today. I don't know. I'm back on like a schedule, clearly, as you can tell. Which, for me, dude, I like having a schedule personally. Just more of where I thrive. So yeah, just remember your words create your reality.